Hi, I'm Don, and this is The Hobbyist Geek. Welcome back, y'all. Today we are continuing and hopefully completing our journey with Aden, that wonderful pirate-themed book nook. Last time around, we got an enormous amount of these little ornaments and decorations assembled, and they are looking spectacular. I can't wait to see where they're gonna go. So, how about enough talking from me? Let's just get into it. All right, we're gonna kick things off with something nice and simple here. We have part I2 right here. Notice the slot. That'll help you with orientation on this, okay? What you wanna do is you wanna take all of the LEDs. Bear in mind, the LEDs are supposedly LED 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with 1 being the shortest and 2 being the next, and so on and so forth. Length is kind of difficult to tell, if I'm being honest, on some of these. 2 and 3 are almost exactly the same. But we're going to feed all of this through the hole here from the bottom. All of this electronics as well, all the way down to this. So it should look like that when you're done. And you're going to want to use the provided screws in each of the 4 corners to hold it in place. Look at that. Be careful because they do poke through on the other side, so you can nick yourself a little bit if you're not careful. Alright, next up we're going to take D3 and we're going to plug it into this slot here. D10, and that one is going to go into this slot here. And D13, which will go into the other. Make sure that the little gap here is facing the front. That'll go right there. Now we're going to take the circuit board, and that is going to plug in right here. So we've got 2 tabs that'll go into the bottom, and then these 2 tabs will go into D10 and 13 that we just put in place. This is a very long cable. Alright, and that is what it should look like when you are done. And I did, of course, test the lights just to make sure I didn't break anything in the process. So we are good so far. Excellent. Alright, next up, we're going to take plate A and these bottom holes right here. That is for these 2 tabs right here. Look at that. Now we're going to take this right here, which is C1. And if you purchase the set that comes with a music box, like I did, you're going to mount the music box right here. So it's got a little screw here, that's for the winder. That'll go through the big hole. And then you should have a bunch of other holes that lined up. And now it's playing music. And with those holes lined up, we're going to start putting these screws in. Okay, beautiful. Now we'll take the key, we'll screw it onto the winder, and this should be ready to rock and roll. Look at that. All right. Yeah. I don't want to leave too much tension, and obviously we don't need the background music for all of this. Now these two holes here, these two tabs right here, and then of course these gaps will line up with the side of this. Look at this, looking gorgeous. I have a feeling I'm gonna have to change camera angles though, because this is getting big. All right, next up we have I1. Now this actually isn't labeled in the instructions, but it's pretty clear. It's the only piece that looks even remotely similar to this. Got a couple of interesting bits though. Obviously these tabs will go into these slots here, and this little slot will go on top of this tab. And that's really the only thing that's going to be supporting it, other than this little base here, for the majority of the rest of this build. So I'm a little concerned about getting some of the detail work and stuff in here, and having to get it all pressed in. Fingers crossed we don't run into any problems there. But you might notice over in this corner there's a larger hole. Okay, you want lamps 1 and 2 to go through there. The other 3 will actually come over the back side. So make sure you do your measurements. 1 is pretty easy to identify, it's the shortest. Making sure you've got 2 and 3 designated properly is where things get a little harder. I mean, look at this. They look like they're exactly the same length. Hopefully it won't make much of a difference. I'm going to designate this one as 2 and hope to God I'm right. So we're going to push these through here. Oh. All right. We'll make sure the other 3 coming around the back side. All right. So it should look a little something like this. And you got plenty of room for these to come up back just like this. All right, let's see what's next. All right, next up, we're gonna take G16 here, and we're gonna take our bookshelf. We're gonna glue this thing just like this. Make sure that this edge is lined up, and this corner is right here on this corner, and this of course lines up with the bottom as well. These posts will stick down. These are what's gonna hold everything in place. So let's go ahead and get this thing glued in. All right, there we go. Now we just gotta let it dry a bit, and then we can move on. All right, hopefully that is enough. And what we're gonna do is, right in here, there are 2 little holes, and we're gonna plug these 2 posts into them. All right. Should look a little something like that when you're done. And make sure, of course, that this can still come on up. You got all your lights, you got plenty of room right here. Look at that. We could probably hang them over the back now. Look at that. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. All right. Next up, I don't know if this is showing up on camera too well, but there's a little circle right here, a little mark right here. So we're going to take the dartboard and we're going to glue that inside the circle, and we're going to take the clue board and line it up with this corner here and glue it in place as well. Should look like that when you're done. Now we got to wait for that to dry before we can really move on. I should mention, the instructions do say measure this to 230 millimeters. I don't have anything to measure it to 230 millimeters with, so I'm just gonna have to hope I've got enough length here. Well, I'm sure I've got enough, and then we'll have to get rid of the excess somehow in a bit. Alright, next up, we're gonna take the fireplace. It's got two little posts on the bottom, and there are two holes right here. Make sure, now whew. Thought I broke it, but nope, it's still good. Clumsy fingers, what can I say? Now I did move lamp 1 all the way down, pushed it back in because I looked a little ahead and looks like that's where that's gonna go. 2, make sure you bring to the side so that it is not getting caught when you put this fireplace in. Look at that. It looks gorgeous. All right. Now with that in place, we can probably bring this cable. We got to really make sure this just stays out of the way for now. We've got our staircase. Now the staircase is going to line up with the bookshelf here. It's going to go all the way back to this rear wall right there. So should fit nice and snug in that corner. We're just going to glue it in place. And it should look like that when you are done. It's coming along. All right, next up, we've got weapon rack 2 in our leather suitcase with pile of books. We're gonna have to glue these in, of course. Weapon rack 2 will be glued in right here. It's gonna slide into the gap and kind of line up like this. And of course, I'll show you a closer view once I've got the glue in. With the suitcase kind of coming in next to it, much like that. Okay, so let me go ahead and get these glued in, and I will be right back. All right, still waiting on the glue to dry, but it should look a little something like that when you're done, and we can move on. All right, continuing our decoration of the floor, we're gonna get sticker 14 here. And we are gonna throw that thing on the ground. See if we can't find a good place for it. Right about here. There we go. And now we've got H26 and 27, which are both the same thing. We're gonna throw those in too. Gotta glue them to the floor as well. Should look a little something like that when you're done, and we can move on. All right, next up we're gonna take 15, 16, and 17, and we're gonna array them around here. So let's get that in. So it should look a little something like that when you're done. Okay, y'all. Now we got 3 more bottles, H28, 29, and 30. They are all the same. And we're gonna array those along the bottom, or along the floor as well. This guy clearly has a drinking problem. There you go. 3 more bottles in place. Let's see what's next. All right, next up we're going to take some of the pre-made items. So we've got our treasure chest, our barrel, and our wrench. Now first things first, the wrench is actually going to glue on top of the barrel, and then the barrel will go in the corner with the treasure chest right next to it. We also have part C12, and that's going to go into this hole right here. And it should look like that when you're done. Let's see what's next. Alright, next up will be nice and easy. We've got H66, which will go into this little hole here. And our rudder, which is going to go into the hole up front here. There you go. It's coming along. Let's see what's next. All right. Next up, we're going to place our desk, our chair, and a door, which is F77. The door will glue right back here, like that. The desk has little pegs and little holes, so it'll go right there, and the chair will go underneath it. So I'm gonna save the chair for after the desk. The instructions say put the chair first. I'm gonna save that for after the desk. All right, let me go ahead and do this, and I'll be right back. All right, we're still waiting on the glue to dry a bit, but it should look something like that when you're done. Alrighty, next up, we've got our golden cage, which will go right about here-ish. And we've got J22, which will go right about here-ish. There is a little template there to show you exactly where this will go. And we've got C4, which is crossbow, and it also has a little template here to show you where it'll go. So we got to glue these to the wall and the cage to the floor. Back in a sec. All right. And that is where the wall ornaments go, and that is where the cage goes. And things are definitely looking up. Let's see what's next. Alrighty, next up, guardrail 4. Now there's a little line right here, and that's supposed to line up with the bottom of this. So it's going to be interesting. We'll see how this plays out, but it should be something similar to this right here. And then we have J6 here, and that's going to go on the wall right about here-ish. So we go ahead and get this all in place. Be right back. All right, that is what that will look like right there. Now we're going to take H61. It's going to go right here. We're going to take, what is this, C6. It's this puppy. And that is going to go right here. Be careful with this one. That's on a very thin piece of wood. Okay. And we've got C10. That's going to go right there. It's another thin one. So that should all look like that when it's done. Okay, now we're going to jump ahead a little bit, just a little bit, because it's time to start dealing with the cable. But before we do that, you got to pull out G5 here and J13. Now J13 is going to go on the underside, right here in this front hole? Yeah, the front hole. Okay, so it looks like this. Now what's going to happen is LED 2 here is going to end up taped to this. Not a lot of space here to deal with. Yeah, about like this, okay? And because it's going to be oriented like this, it is then going to go to this side. What I'm going to do here, or try to do here, is get an idea of exactly where it's going to meet. All right, assuming my measurement is correct, it's going to be right about there. So I've got a little marker here, I'm going to mark it up. Of course the cable won't, the cap won't come off. Oh my God. I'm going to have to measure this again. Okay, now I got to get the cap off somehow. Hold on. Okay, now I've got the cap off. I've got to measure it again, and then I'll mark it. Okay, now that I've got a little mark, that'll be where it leaves this wall to come out. Now the objective here is going to be to have that mark right behind that assembly right there. Okay, then it'll come over, go around here, and then down into the hole. And I will come underneath to try and grab it and pull out any excess. We're going to be using the transparent stickers here to try and hold it in place. We're going to want 2 of them. One right here where it meets, and another one right over here to make sure it stays on top around, and goes around. So we're going to use 2 of these stickers. Wish me luck. All right, it should look a little something like this. Of course, this part will come down and hang by the chandelier when we put the next floor in. Awesome. But before we can get there, we got to finish this floor. All right, next up, beast head. And that is going to go in the remaining hole right there. Just like that. Now, we're going to go with, this is going to be a hard one to put in. This is I5, and that's going to go in this far hole way over here. See if I can't somehow get this thing finagled in there. Sure enough, exactly what I was afraid of was going to happen. A little too tight in there, and the tip of the seaweed there snapped off. I'm going to try and glue it back on. I don't know how successful I'll be, we will see. But I can do that off camera for now. We can move on. We've got H68, which goes into the very next hole. Look at that. And the seaweed's barely visible as it is. We'll see what we can do. All right, let's see what's next. All right, I think I got it in there. We're waiting for the glue to dry, but while we do, we can start putting some other stuff in. I'm gonna start with right there in the back. Looks like we got some more seaweed. This is I3. There are 3 holes here. One of them is much further back than the others. This is I3. See if we can't get that in there. Perfect. Awesome. All right. And then we're going to follow that up with what is this? I20. I20. And next up we've got J17. Look at that. Looking good so far. All right. What's next? Alrighty, 5 more pieces to go. 5 to go. We're going to kick things off with H67. That's going to go here, right there. Yeah, it's pretty good. All right. Would have liked to have gotten a little further, but doesn't seem to want to go anymore, and that's okay. Doesn't have to. Now we've got I4. That's going to go right there. All right. And H73. It'll go up here in the front. Beautiful, beautiful. Now, we have J14. And that is basically going to sit in here kind of like this. And yeah, we're gonna have to glue it. So, let me do that. All right, and while that's drying, we've got D11, a little oar. That is actually going to go all the way back here and lean up against the door next to the cat. So let's go ahead and get that glued in. Perfect. And that, my friends, is what we're looking at for the first floor. Very nice. I'm gonna let this glue dry a little bit, and then we're gonna see what we can do about installing that second floor. All right, time to put in the second floor and see if we can't finish the wiring there. We got 2 tabs here on the back. Those are gonna go into tabs there. We've got 2 tabs here on the side. Those will go into those slots right there. And you notice this little cutout? That's where all of these wires are going to go through. Make sure this is underneath, of course. So, let's see how we get on. Look at that. Beautiful. That actually came out really well. I gotta admit, a little better than I thought it would. All right, now for the fun part. I don't think I'm gonna be able to show this on camera, but here's what I'm gonna try to do. I'm gonna try and get some tape in here to tape this right here. Okay, we're gonna tape this wire to the ceiling. We need 2 pieces of tape. One to tape this to the ceiling and one to tape this to the back of the chandelier. And we should be done with the first floor entirely. So let's see if I can't make that happen. Okay, y'all. This is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but ta-da! Look at that. It is gorgeous. Now, I ended up having to super glue the LED to the thing because the tape was just ridiculous and would not stay. A lot of stuff kind of got knocked over. I had to fix it in progress. So that is hard. And I don't know what they were thinking in their order of operations, but that was ridiculous. It's on though, and it's done, and it looks, in my opinion, very, very nice. Look at that. That is gorgeous. All right, time to start on the next level. Okay, next up we have F20. This one's kind of interesting. It's got 2 tabs here, and they're going to go into these slots here. So basically we're giving up like half the floor. But what's interesting is number 3, lamp number 3, the short one. Well, short of the remaining ones anyway. It's going to go in that little slot right there. Now you notice this little cutout right here? That is where lamp number 4 is going to go. So that's going to come along the wall here. And we'll go ahead and get that in place. Pop this puppy down. And then we will take lamp 3 here, and we're just gonna set it into the groove. I'm sure it'll pop out several times as we're going through this build. In fact, it might even be worthwhile just to leave it hanging like this, and we'll get to it when we put in the next floor, because that is where lamp number 3 is gonna go. There's another light that this is gonna have to fix to right about here-ish. And that's where that's gonna go. But this is where we're at for the moment, with 4 coming out there. Now that is obviously a lot of slack. Slack we don't necessarily need right now, so we can bring this in as well. Arrgh. All right. Because really, you only need about this much, give or take. So we got a lot of slack to deal with when it comes to these lights here. But we will deal with it when the time comes. For now, we are good. All right, next up, we're gonna take F15, and that's gonna glue in right about here-ish. There is indeed a little template here to show where the door is going to go. So it should be fairly easy to get that thing lined up. All right, with the door there in place, you'll notice there's, looks like a little picture of a ship here. Well, we have F25 to put over top of it and turn it into a window. Again, little glue. And there it is. Looking great. Let's see what's next. All right, next up, we have F21, 22, 23, and 24. That is 2 sabers and 2 pistols. And all of those are going to glue right here along the wall. And there are some little templates drawn into the wall to show you exactly where they're supposed to go. So I'm going to go ahead and get those glued in, and I will be right back. All right. They should be glued to the wall, something like that. And we are ready for the next step. Next step's nice and easy. We got 3 of these little bags, F42, 43, and 44. And they're gonna go peg into 3 holes right back here. There we go, 3 bags in. What's next? All right, next up, we're gonna get F69 here. And that'll go into this little hole right here. And now we've got to glue our cannon and our silver coin pile. And they're gonna go right about thereabouts. Okay, so let me go ahead and get those glued in. And there we go, looking good. All right, let's see what's next. All right, we're gonna kick things off with our final 2 stickers here, 18 and 19, and they're gonna go on the floor right about in there. All right, I know it's a pirate ship and all, but what a mess, man. There's papers everywhere on the floor. All right, we got F68 here, and that's gonna go into this slot right here. And now we've got this little piece. This is F70. And it's gonna have to be glued upright right about here-ish. So let me go ahead and get that done. All right, should look a little something like that when you're done. And now we get these 2 pieces. This is J25, this is D6. Be careful with D6, it's actually painted on both sides. So it's gonna go on in this orientation. There are indeed little stencils on the wall to help with placement, and they're gonna be glued right in there. And it should look a little something like that when you're done. All right, what's next? All right, for this next bit, it's gonna be a little interesting. We have this nice little pole here. This is F74. It's gonna go into this rear hole right here. All right, now, this one is gonna be the fun one. This is F73. Now, it's gonna go peg in right here, but this light, okay, light number 4 here, is gonna have to go right behind it. Okay, like this. Okay, with the cable coming around into the wall and around this to the wall. So after the last disaster with the transparent tape, I don't really want to tape it. So I'm thinking I might just glue the LED to this first, then stick it in, and then worry about cable management. And then when that's done, we do have part F71 here, which will go into the front hole right here to help cover everything up. So let me go ahead and do that, and I will be right back. we go. I did use a little bit of transparent tape just to hold the cable against the wall there. But I did not super glue, but regular glue. The tacky glue, the LED to the back of this little, I don't know, elephant looking thing. And it worked beautifully. It does not impair the lighting at all. Looks great. So I'm probably going to use that method for the ceiling lamp for this as well. But for now, we are good and we can move on. All right, next up, we have a nice little scarecrow here. This is F72. That's going to go into this hole here. Just like that. And we have F75. And we're going to have to glue that in. That's going to cover the big hole right there. So I'm going to go ahead and get that glued in. All right, and while we're waiting for that to dry, we have this. This is a very delicate piece. So when you're removing it from the sprue, be careful. And of course, when you're placing it in here, now there's a little slot here and a little slot here for it to go in. Let's see if I can't make this happen. And there it is. Looking good. Looking good. I will say this was a little bit of a loose fit, so a little glue may be in order to keep it all in place. But we are ready for the next step. All right, this next step is going to be interesting. We have this little lamp right here. This is F19. This is the lamp that LED 3 here is going to be glued behind. That's going to go into this front hole here. This is E50 on the underside. Okay. And we've also got this large hole here that lamp or LED 5 is going to fit through. So you can easily push this through right now. And these two tabs back here will tab in right there in the back. I think, however, what I'm going to do, I'm going to glue LED 3 to the back of this. When that dries, we'll plug it in and then just carefully make sure this is lined up here in that little slot as we slide this in and pull up all of the slack. Should be fun. Let's see if I can make this happen. All right, y'all. Now that I've got the piece glued to the LED, let's see if we can't do this. We're gonna bend the cabling down a bit. We'll plug it in. I'm gonna pull a little more slack out here. Oh no! And now the glue came off. Exactly what I was hoping wouldn't happen. This is annoying. All right. Let's see here. I'm going to take another piece of this transparent tape. We're going to try to tape this cabling down here as well. Okay, that'll work, I guess. There we go. That'll work. I guess. As long as it's hidden by the little lamp there, we're good. All right, let's see what's next. All right, next up, we're gonna take this ladder here, which is F45. I'm basically gonna glue it in place over here, whoa, to connect there and deck 2, I guess. So let's see what we can do about making that happen. All right. Look at that. All right, let's see what's next. All right, we have another ladder. This is C7. That is gonna come in here and glue these. Well, we're gonna have to glue it, but it's gonna connect these areas. Excellent. Let's see what I can do about making that happen. All right, look at that. Looking good. Let's see what's next. All right, next up, we're gonna glue all 4 of these boxes back in here in a little pile. 3 on the bottom, 1 on top, and then we're gonna add F47 to the pile just to complete the look. And there you go. That's what it should look like when it's done. All right. What's next? All right. For the final level, we're finally working on that. We're gonna take all the guardrails. This is guardrail 2. Bear in mind, guardrail 3 is the slightly shorter one, okay? So we're gonna go guardrail 2 right here, guardrail 1 next to it, and then guardrail 3 on the end. So we're gonna go ahead and glue all of those in place. All right. And it should look like that when you're done, and we can move on to the next step. All right, we're gonna start with D16 here. There's a little hole right where the wiring is coming out. That'll go in there. Just like that. Now we've got D16 and 17. These are little clouds. There is a place drawn right here for them. So it's just a matter of gluing them in place. Excellent. And last but not least, we've got this, which is E27. That is going to glue right about here-ish. So let's get that in place. And it should look a little something like that when you're done. All right, coming right along. All right, this next step, we've got our lookout tower. But now there's a little circle like right here. So it's very easy to know exactly where this is supposed to be placed. But here's the deal. This final LED has got to be affixed to the back of the lookout tower, right about here-ish. Okay. Glue, tape, however you want to do it. I suggest getting it fixed in first and then dragging the slack down until you can glue this in. So let me see if I can't somehow make that happen. And that is what the final piece looks like. You can see the cable coming up back there. I have to tell you guys, this transparent tape that they provided has got to be the most useless piece of crap thing I have ever had the displeasure of dealing with. I mean, you can hardly call it tape. It does not stick like to anything. It's ridiculous. But the final light is in, so we shouldn't have to worry about the tape anymore. And you can see where the light comes through. Man, this is looking incredible. Can't wait to see what comes next. Okay, next up, we're going to be putting the weapon rack in, the first one. It's going to go way back in this corner over here. We'll have to glue it in, of course. Followed by this E67. And try as I might, I cannot figure out what the heck this is supposed to be. But it's got a little peg, and that'll peg in right here. So we go ahead and get this glued in, and then we'll peg that thing in and move on. There you go. Ready for the next step. Alright, next step's nice and easy. First, we've got our road signs here, and that's going to peg in over here. Alright, look at that. And then we have F13, which honestly it looks like a giant crab with a captain's hat and a hook. So I don't know what the heck they're going for there. But that's going to peg in right here in front of the lookout tower. Alright, so it's going to look like that. What's up next? Alright, next up, we got 3 more of these little bombs here. And those are E68, 69, and 70. And they're basically all going to be glued to the deck between the weapon rack and this little crab thing. So let me go ahead and get these in. This is going to take a little bit longer because I actually have to hold these in place because these are rounded, so they're just going to roll off. So I got to actually hold them in place until they're dry. So let me go ahead and get them in, and then I'll show you what it looks like at the end. All right, next up, we've got 3 of these boxes. And those are all going to get glued in right in this area. I'm not entirely sure exactly how. Something like this. Alright. Of course, I'll show you close up once they're actually assembled. And then we have this, which is, what is this? This is F14. And that'll just peg in right there. So let me get this all glued in. We'll show you what it looks like. And there you go. Look at that. We're getting closer. All right, next up, we have 2 of these bottles. This is F17 and 18. And one of them is going to go in the boxes, and one of them is going to go on its side next to the boxes. There you go. Should look like that. All right, what's next? All right, next up we got two more pieces. We've got the painting here. We've got this little fencing. This fencing is F16. F16's got two little pegs and it'll slide into the two little slots that are right here. That is okay, a little loose. I'll probably put some glue in there. The painting will go right about here, just like that. So let me go ahead and get those glued in, and I'll show you what it looks like. Look at that. Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. And that actually completes all of this. There's another set of steps that we're gonna have to do, but before we can really get into it, we've gotta let this glue fully dry. So while we're waiting on that to dry, we're gonna start decorating this side. All right, here we go with sheet B. We're gonna start decorating this. Now we have D7. There's a little template here. This will glue right in there. We have D5, and that is going to glue right around here, make us a nice little porthole. And we have the fish shelf that we built, and that is going to go into that little hole right there. So let me go ahead and get this stuff glued in. Look at that. Awesome. What's next? All right. Next, we got this little sign, D4. It says search for treasure with me. And that's going to glue right there. Perfect. Now, we have J21, nice little lamp. That'll go into that hole right here. Excellent. And we're gonna finish it off with H60, and that'll go into this hole right here. Look at that. It's looking good. Let's see what's next. Alrighty, next up, we're gonna get some more frames on here. We're gonna start with D8, and that will go over the image of the world right there. All right, and now we have a little picture frame. Then we'll just go around this. Perfect. All right. Now, a few more things to go, not much. We have another lamp. This is going to be J23, and that is going to go into that peg right there, or that hole, I should say. Okay, and we've got, this is D9, and there's a little template right there for this to go in. We're just going to glue it right there. And finally, this flag, C11, there's a tiny little template for the bottom of the flagpole that's going to go right there. So this will be a fun one. Perfect. All right. With all of that done, we have finished decorating the side, and we're ready to go back to the main piece if your glue has fully dried. Okay, y'all, this next section is really the section I've been dreading since I read the instructions. And it's going to require really delicate touch, and it's a very finicky section. You take a look at the lookout tower here. You can see there are little holes around the lower rim here. Okay, there's 6 of them. What you're going to want to do is take the chain, get it into that hole, and then you've got to drag it to the side. And on the side, I don't know if it's going to show up too well on camera, but there's a little hole here, a little hole here, and a third little hole right here. So those chains are going to go from the lookout tower to the edge of the nook. Now, what the instructions say is to put it in and leave about 10 millimeters or so, so that you can glue it in and then cut it on the lookout tower. And then, you cut it up here. Personally, I think that is going to be the more difficult cut, so I've got a different method that I'm going to try. But then you got to glue it. Got to make sure it's fully dry and secure. Then you drag it over the hole, get it positioned just right, get a little dab of glue in that hole to hold it in place, and then you cut the excess and then use the chain for the next hole. Considering, excuse me, man, I've got a frog in my throat. Considering that you have to let this glue dry between each and every single step, and each of them is going to be performed in basically the same way. I'm not going to show every step on camera, but I'm going to see if I can get the first one. Now here's the method I intend to use. Basically a dual toothpick method. I'm going to get one end in here. I'm going to prep a toothpick with some glue on the tip. And then I'm going to put, the sharp end of the toothpick through the final ring to hold the chain like this, and then gently lower it into that hole. Use the second toothpick to glue it, and then we'll have to wait for it to dry and go from there. Let's see if this method will work for the first one, and we'll go from there. All right, that actually seemed to work pretty good. Can't get it to focus, there we go. That actually seemed to work pretty good there. All right, we'll let that dry and then see if we can't get the other end to go where we need it to. Okay, y'all, I hope I've let it dry sufficiently. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get this chain out a bit. Remember what I said about a real delicate touch. All right, now we're going to lean this on its side, so one of the holes is over the edge of the table, or the hole we're targeting is over the edge of the table. All right. And then we'll try to get this other end to go where it's supposed to go. Wish me luck. Look at that. That came out beautiful. All right. So now we're gonna glue the hole here on the outside and then let it dry. Then we cut off the excess and go for the rest. And I will be back once I've gotten these 3 done. Alrighty, y'all. There it is. Look at that. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. All 3 chains in. And that means it is time to close up the other side. So now I'm going to take sorry, I left it a little too far away. There we go. Okay. I'm going to take the side that we built here, and it's going to go right in here. All the same tabs go in all the same holes, just like we did the first one. So let's see if we can do this without knocking things around too much. And there we go. The other side is in. This thing is looking enclosed. I just want to see. Look at the light. Look at the light. All right. Well, with the other side in, we now have an unfortunate task. All of those chains that we just put in over here, got to do the same thing for the other side. 3 more chains, same premise as what we did over here. So just like with these last 2, no point in trying to film all of it. It's all going to be handled exactly the same way. And I'm going to go ahead and get that done, and I'll show you what the end result looks like. Wish me luck. Okay, y'all, I'm gonna have to apologize because I recorded an entire segment and completely missed that my microphone wasn't working. So, to recap, all of the chains are in. That is what they will look like. Very delicate work. Be very gentle when you're doing this. And make very sure you let the glue dry between each step because it is a pain. This is how much chain I have left for any other projects, or whatever you want. Or you can be a little more liberal in what you want to do here. And of course, there's plenty of chain left for mistakes. Then there was the top. This is D1. There are tabs that will slot in the back. Okay, it is smooth on front. So it's very clear which direction this goes, and it's just pushing it in. So we're good there. Now for where I was when I realized my microphone wasn't working. We have J10, and this is the front cover. It will go like this, and we will have to glue it in place. When you're gluing this, make very, 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 very sure, do not glue along the top edge here, okay? There's supposed to be a small gap. If you happen to have the version that has the dust cover, like I do, that's where it will slide in, okay? But for now, I'm gonna put a little glue on the edges here, and we will glue this in. All right. And there it is. Front cover. I'm gonna hold it sideways. Front cover installed. Looking beautiful. All right, I'm gonna leave it on the back side like this and let the glue fully dry, and then we'll see about getting that dust cover installed. Actually, there's one more piece before the dust cover. I completely forgot. We have a little wheel here, steering wheel, and that is going to glue right here directly over the infrared sensor. So let me go ahead and get some glue on there. Try not to get any glue on the sensor, but should be easy enough. There it is, perfectly centered over the sensor as far as I can tell. Ready to rock and roll. Just gotta let it dry. Alrighty y'all, it should be dry enough now. Time for the dust cover. It's this little thing right here. Open her up. All right, now this should be a nice clear piece of plastic, but it's got the paper on either side. So of course we need to remove the paper, and then it just slides in the top. Let's see if we can't make that happen. Whew. One side off. Let's see if I can get the other one off without putting fingerprints all over this thing. There we go. Looking good. All right, now let's slide this thing in. See what happens. Look at that. Look at that. That's gorgeous. All right, let's take some final looks at it. All right, y'all, here it is. The Aden book nook, fully assembled, minus that one missing part from way back in the bottom floor. And looking absolutely spectacular. That little stinger you just saw, that music is the music box. So that's what that sounds like. Let me bring this puppy in. I mean, now see, that is one of the major problems with it. There is a thermal sensor here, or supposed to be, but I've had this thing go off when I'm sitting right in front of it, and I've had it stay for like 10 minutes with nothing around, and it never goes off. So I don't know what the heck that thing is reading, if anything. But I mean, you guys hopefully have been around to see all of the detail that we've put into this thing. And I mean, just look at it. Okay. Few complaints, obviously. I think some of the light source placement was bad because there's a lot of detail that's hidden in shadow because the light is behind it, particularly on the upper floor there, which is unfortunate. It really, really is. And that tape that they gave us, the transparent tape, absolutely useless. Useless tape. I think masking tape would actually stick better, to be honest. On the sides, nothing much. Back looks really cool. Other side. But all in all, I mean, this was a lot of fun to put together. It really, really was. Absolute blast. I enjoyed myself. Here's a little comparison since I've only done the two. Here is the Aden book nook, the Jensen Onsen, which, there we go. So you can see from a size comparison, the Jensen Onsen is significantly larger. I'm gonna turn the light off here. Here we go. Significantly larger, okay, from a width standpoint, as well as a depth standpoint, okay. Never actually done this comparison, but there you go. So you got a good few inches on this side of depth as well. Now, this is $50. This is $200. I'll let you guys make your own determination as to whether or not it's worth it. But all in all, an excellent piece and a fun, reasonably easy build. Oh, I should also mention, the wooden pieces on this feel extraordinarily sturdy. In the Aden one, frankly, I was terrified of breaking them. And there were a couple where, you know, just even a tiny bit of pressure snapped it right off. In addition, on the Aden one, popping the pieces out of the sprue, you'd get some damage to the finish. That never happened here, not once. So there is a wood quality difference as well. I do recommend this one. This was a lot of fun. If you want to build a book nook, I did get the version that comes with the dust cover, which is this plastic sheet in front, and the music box. But you can get a mix and match or just without either of those options as well. It's up to you. Anyway, that's about all I've got to say. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Have a great day.